Initially, I was going to make this topic a part of the process section, but because in my own experience, I found it to be so essential, I decided to give it its own video. Now, property management. Unless you live down the street from your rental property, you're going to want and need a property management company taking care of it. Even if you did live down the street, I would still recommend having a professional property management company taking care of your investment and your tenants. It's really worth every penny, trust me. So what do property management companies do? Well, of course, they collect rent, they communicate with tenants, they're a contact point for the tenants, they communicate with you, the owner, they fill vacancies whenever they arise, they issue notice to the tenants if ever necessary, some handle utility payments that you're covering, and they handle service requests. So they do a lot so that you don't have to. I want to share a story about my personal experience and why I made this in its own section. Much like many of my other stories, this one is about my very first rental as well. I don't have many cautionary tales about later properties because luckily I was able to learn fast from my mistakes. At the tail end of the purchase process of my first property, I started seeking out a property management company. I looked in the area around the rental, of course, and I did what most people do nowadays when searching for something, and I went directly to Google. I found a company in that area. I won't share what their name is, of course, but if I have a one-on-one or a mastermind session with you and you're thinking about buying in the Phoenix, Arizona area, I'll be happy to divulge exactly who they are. So anyway, I digress. I got on a call with one of the representatives who was very professional. They let me know, what they took care of and the costs. I decided to go with them, excited that I had found someone to take care of my new investment. I signed a 1-year contract, sent them everything that they needed to get started, the rent roll, the rental agreements, security deposits for the previous owner. I got them linked up with my business account for the deposits coming in, etc. So where things started to go really awry was about 3 months in. I received a notice from the city of Phoenix stating that the vegetation was overgrown and that the tenants could not park in the dirt area in front of the units. The city has a dust ordinance, a dust ordinance, which I don't fault them for having, but basically it states that if tenants are parking on an unpaved area of the property, it must have rock or gravel no smaller than 1/4 of an inch and no larger than 3/4 of an inch, maintained to a minimum depth of 2 inches. Now, there's a lesson here about knowing your marketplace aside from the one I'm discussing, right? So back to property management. So I brought this up to the property manager and they said not to worry about it. They would let the tenants know not to park there, and they would source me a landscaper to take care of all the cleanup and maintenance of the overgrown weeds and vegetation around the property. Now, they called me back a few days later stating that they would have their landscaper who would actually come out, do the initial cleanup for $750, and then would maintain it going forward for $300 a month. I just about fell out of my chair when I read this because that's a lot of money. So, I immediately started doing my own research. Within a few days, I found an amazing landscaper who, by the way, I still use today at all of my Phoenix properties, who went in, did the initial cleanup for $350, and still maintains it for $100 a month. Now, I was a little frustrated with my property management company at that point, but I figured the problem was solved, I'll just move on. A month later, I got a citation from the city. Not a notice this time, a citation for $750 and a notice to appear in court for ignoring the notice about the dust ordinance. What? $750 and now I'm supposed to fly to Phoenix to appear in court. I immediately called my property management company and asked what in the world was going on. They told me, well, we were going to tell them not to park there, but apparently they have to park within X amount of distance from their units. Okay, so then why didn't you just tell me about this? Well, we didn't think the city would actually go back and check again. My head just about exploded. but I did what I thought was a pretty good job at keeping my cool with them. I might be turning a little red right now, aren't I? So anyway, I asked them to please get this worked out with the city and the court, and to please find out how much it would cost to just get the proper gravel in place so that my tenants could then park in front of their units like they needed to. The property management came back to me a week later, letting me know they found someone who would deliver the gravel and get it all spread around the area. He could get it done the very next week, and it would only cost me $9,500. It still hits me a little bit in my gut. Anyway, I told them to tell their guy, please don't come out. Once again, I did my own research. I started to search Craigslist for gravel services, and I called several people. Right off the bat, the estimates were already looking much better. The first guy told me he could get the material and get it laid out for $4,500. Another really professional guy said he would actually get it all done for $3,800. I was really happy to hear this. Yes, $3,800 was a lot of money, but it certainly wasn't $9,500 that my property management company was trying to get me for. So one night when I couldn't sleep, which was pretty frequent around this time, I started looking at what the actual cost of the gravel was. I mean, maybe I would just fly out one weekend and lay it out myself. And, but who wants to have to make that kind of special trip to do that? So the next day I actually started calling the gravel yards. I spoke to an amazing lady, and she had a really great deal on some gravel that was within the city specs. She said that for the 2.5 tons that I needed, she would have it delivered with a total cost of material and delivery for $950. Then I called my awesome landscape guy, and he said he would have his guys laid out for $350. That's right. A job that my property management company quoted me $9,500 for, I just got it done for $1,400. Now, I was happy to pay that, but and at this point, I had zero faith in my property management. And then my wife started getting skeptical about everything that they were doing. She started looking at the numbers and our deposits and looking at the last 6 months, and nothing seemed right. We discovered that there were months on end where tenants were not paying or only paying a portion, and nothing was being done about it. They would never go back to try to recoup any of the unpaid back rent. They would just let things roll. This went on for another 6 months because remember, I was in a 1-year-long contract with these people. Now, you better believe as that year was coming to a close, I was already looking for a new property manager. Luckily, I was able to find an amazing one that basically does everything that the other one never did. They have great communication with not only myself, but also my tenants as well. They also manage all of my current properties, by the way, in Arizona. So I know that was a bit lengthy, but that one story had a lot, and I mean a lot of cautionary tales in it. But the main lessons were these. Having the right property management company in place is extremely important. They can make life as a rental property owner fantastic or a living you-know-what, okay? Analyze any costs of repairs that get presented to you, okay? Especially the major ones. Now, luckily, I have a very trusting relationship with this new company that I really don't even have them bothering me for an approval unless the cost of service or repair is over $200. Now, regardless, it's going to show up on my monthly owner statement that they provide anyway. And lastly, a good property management company is probably one that you'll want to use for potential future investments in that general area. So what's the average cost of a property management company? Now, the industry standard is 10% of the total rent collected. Now, I will tell you that since I have multiple properties in that area that they're servicing, I actually am paying under 6% across the board. So it's important to have a great one in place that you can build a relationship with, that you can trust, that you can communicate with, and maybe even save money with down the road.